Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be working the Camry. We're going to be doing some checks before we go on the road trip. This should apply to any car that you have. So this is a really good thing to do before you head off onto that road trip. So the first check we'll be doing is a diagnostic check. You can do these diagnostic checks with a OBD2 reader. Since this car is a little bit older, it doesn't have an OBD2 reader, it has an OBD1. So you can buy these scanners, these readers that you can get from eBay. You plug it into your OBD2 reader slot. You can download an app and it'll show you any issues, any faults, and then you can decide what you want to do from there and see if it's worth going to a mechanic to get it fixed or get something sorted and rectify the issue. Next on the list is the tires. To make sure that your tires are within the legal requirements for the road, the tires have a little indicator. So this little indicator here indicates whether your tire is within the legal requirement to be on the road or not. If this indicator is higher than the actual tread, you know your tires are worn and you need to replace the tires before you go on the road. If you don't, and if you encounter rain, then it'd be a very hazardous situation to be driving in the rain with no tread to disperse the water. If your tread is higher than the indicator like mine, then your tire is legal and obviously you can go ahead and drive your car. Make sure you check all 4 tires before you head off on your road trip. You can do all these checks by yourself. For some of these checks, you might require a specialized tool or someone specified in the industry to do the checks for you. But if you're doing it yourself, all you need is a trolley jack and jack stands. Just jack it up. Don't ever be dependent on the trolley jack and have no jack stands when you go under the vehicle. If you're getting value out of this content, please smash the like button and let me know in the comments below what caught you out on a road trip. Next will be your tire pressures. So if you don't have anything to check your tire pressures with at home, you can always go to a service station, look for a sign that says air and water. You pull up to it. There should be hose reels there as well. You'll be able to identify it. Most cars have the tire pressure chart on the driver's side in the door sill. So for my car, it is recommended pressures is 32 psi for the front and 29 psi for the rear. So once you find that, you go over to your tire, look for a tire valve, which looks like this. Unscrew your cap, go to the machine, punch in the number that is required for your tire, and then simply just plug in the hose and it should start pumping straight away and it'll stop automatically as well. After you've checked the tire pressures on your car, next you should probably check your spare tire, because the last thing you want to do is be stranded with a flat tire and you don't have a spare tire that's pumped. If you want to check your brakes, you should have the tools to remove your tires in your boot with the spare all located in the boot. So all you do is you jack the car up, obviously have a stand under it, and then you take your wheel nuts off. After you've taken your wheel nuts off, take your wheel out to check your brakes. So your brake pads are located in there. I don't know if you can see. You see, that's your brake pad there. So to make sure you have sufficient brake pad material, a rule of thumb is see the backing plate there. Make sure your pad is the same width as the backing plate and you know that your pad is sufficient enough and will last you for a long trip. To check the outside pad, you simply straighten the wheel, you inspect the pad, and you check the same thing on the outside pad as well. Make sure you check all 4 pads. Some cars have a wear indicator. If you push the brake pedal and you hear a screech, there's a metallic clip that is attached to your brake pad and that indicates that your brake pad is low. If your car is sounding like that, please get it inspected and checked and changed before you go ahead on the road trip. Another thing to check is the rotor. To check the rotor, you simply run your finger along the face of the rotor, and towards the end, if you feel a really big lip, then you know that it is time to change your rotors. If this is the case on this side, it might be the same on the other side. Each of them might wear differently, so make sure you check all 4 pads, rotors and tires. After you've checked your brakes, you move into your engine bay and you look for your dipstick, which is usually yellow or orange. To check the oil level, you simply pull it out, wipe it on a piece of cloth so you have a fresh indication of what the level might be. You look for your fill mark, as you can see, just see it, which is there. You place it back in your dipstick tube, go all the way down, come back out. As you can see, mine is low. So I need to top some oil up and then recheck it and make sure it reaches the full mark on the dipstick. Next is to check for your windscreen washer fluid. To locate your windscreen washer fluid, you simply look for this emblem on any of the caps that you find in the engine bay. See how that says coolant? So that's not it. That's power steering. That's not it. So you look for an emblem that looks like this. You open it. I'll leave a link in the description below for a washer solution that you could use to help clean your windscreens properly while you use the wipers. So you simply just pour it in, then you add water until it's full. Next, you'll be checking your belts. So your belts are very important to the engine because they drive your AC compressor, your alternator to charge the battery, and it drives, my car doesn't, but sometimes it drives the water pump. That is very important and very crucial. If you lose a belt, then that is pretty much game over for your trip. To check your belt, what you do is you flip it around, see if you're missing any chunks or any ribbings that are dislodged. If you have any cracks or breaks within the ribbings inside there, then you know you're up for a new belt. Usually you might have to get a mechanic to do it. Make sure you change it before you go on the road trip because you don't want a belt snapping because it'll be very bad and you'll be definitely stranded somewhere. Your next thing to check is your lights, because lights are very important when you're driving in the dark. Obviously, if you don't have any lights, you don't know where you're going. So it's very important. So what you do is you turn on all your lights. So I've got my indicator on, the low beam, then you have the high beam. So you check all four corners. So this one doesn't work, so I need to replace that. This one works and this one works as well. Never mind, it was unplugged. If you need to change them, you can always easily change it. Search up your car, find out what globe it is, search up what light you need to change, and usually you'll be able to buy it at Autobarn, Super Cheap, or any of those stores. And they're usually pretty simple to change. If you're struggling and if you can't find the video on YouTube to change it, then obviously find a mechanic that can do it or that is competent enough to change the globes. Another very important thing people miss is their batteries. It's a very critical part of your engine. So if your battery is unstable and not healthy and slow to start, you know that are telltale signs that the battery is about to go and you might get stranded if you don't check your battery. Ensure your battery is in good health. Check the terminals. Make sure there's no corrosion on both positive and negative. Make sure the terminal's tight. See how that's loose? Tighten that. See how that's tight? Oh, loose-ish, I have to tighten that. There's usually a battery health check indicator globe or a sight glass for the battery to see if the battery is healthy or not. So as you can see, if it's green, so green with a red dot, then the battery is healthy, and you can just see that the battery is still healthy. If you want to check your battery, there's a battery tester that you can use to make sure that your battery is up to its tip-top shape. You can go into any battery place or Super Cheap Auto. They will be able to test your battery and tell you the condition of the battery then and there. Also, it's good practice to carry jumper leads as well because you never know when you might get caught out. If you've enjoyed the content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon just so you know when the next video is out. All the best on your road trip. If you do these checks, you should have a safe trip and no issues and no dramas. Until then, I'll see you guys next time, and thanks for joining me.